Really good to be with you. We're continuing in our series, Chasing What Matters. We've been in the book of Matthew since last Christmas, and we're going to be in it until summer next year. And so that's where we're headed. If you're new with us, we go verse by verse, passage by passage through different books of the Bible, and we're in Matthew right now. And so I want to ask you this question. Have you ever felt like you were doing all the right things, but something was just missing? You ever feel like that? You feel like that right now? Like how many of you, maybe you did the Bible in a year and you're just doing it faithfully every day and maybe you miss a day or two, but for the most part, you're keeping up with it. And you're like, all right, I'm reading my Bible every day, I'm praying every day, I'm dialed in, I'm going to church, and still like I'm not feeling it. Like you ever just checked all the boxes? Okay, I go to small group, okay, I start, okay, I try to be kind, I'm a pretty good person throughout the week, but like something's just missing. You ever feel like that? You ever been there? And maybe it's because you're chasing the rules, but you're missing the heart. Like maybe that's where you're at. This is exactly what we see in Matthew chapter 12. Jesus walks right into two controversies with the Pharisees, those religious elite. We talked about them last week. They're the ones who, had great clout. Everybody looked up to them. When they spoke, it was as if God was speaking. Because, these are the Pharisees. They know the law better than anybody else. And so Jesus is in a controversy with them on two different levels. And they're all worked up. They're fired up. They're coming at Jesus. And it's not because people are being hurt or sinning, but because someone broke the rules. That's why they're coming. That's why they're fussing. That's why they're angry, because Jesus and his disciples broke the rules. And so he's coming at them. And Jesus responds something bold, something disruptive. He says, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. He's quoting Hosea 6:6. He's already done it in the book of Matthew, and now he's doing it again. There's a theme here. He wants us to get something. And so he's not just correcting their theology, he's reframing what Sabbath actually is, what it means to follow God, and what really matters to him. So here's our big idea for today. If you're chasing rules and missing people, you're missing the point. If you're chasing rules and missing people, you're missing the point. And so that's where we're headed today. This is really easy to do, like even as a Christian in the room. Obviously, if the Pharisees, the religious elite are doing it, it's very easy for us to do. As a parent, for example. How many of you, your kid, they broke one of your rules and like they were late. They showed up late, to whatever curfew, 45 minutes late, and they get home, and as soon as they walk in the door, you're like, what are you doing? I tried to text you. I tried to call you. Go to your room. You're done. You're on restriction. And they're trying to say something. You're like, I don't want to hear it. This has happened before. We're done. Don't talk to me. Go to your room. And come to find out, like, her phone died, or his phone died, right? And they're out, and they got into a situation where they had a flat tire and legitimately late, and you didn't have anything to hear about it, right? You don't care. It doesn't matter. Go to your room, right? Or, I remember the story from the dad. His daughter had changed schools and going to a new school, and they're like 2 months in, and she got sideways about something, and he goes, you're on restriction this weekend. And he said, my daughter went berserk, like psycho crazy, like cray-cray, and started screaming, I hate you, I can't believe you, how dare you, slamming doors, like totally outside what she would normally do. And he's like, well, if you're going to act like that, I'm going to lean in. You're not just on restriction, you're done for the month. I'm taking your phone. I'm taking everything. You can't drive. You can't do anything. You are done. How dare you treat your father like that? I'm the authority in this house, and you need to chill out. No conversation. So he's on his phone with one of his buddies who's a mentor, and he goes, my daughter's acting psycho. Like, I don't know what her deal is. Like, it's just crazy. She doesn't normally act like this. And he goes, let me ask you a question. He goes, if she doesn't normally act like this, do you think something's up? And he's like, I don't know. You know what I mean? He's like, well, have you asked? And he's like, well, no. And he goes, well, you should probably go ask. And he's like, I don't want to do that, And so he starts praying about it. He's like, all right. So he goes in, sits next to his daughter, and he goes, by the way, this isn't me, okay? just FYI, I do have 4 girls. This is not my story, okay? This is another dad. And he sits down with his daughter, and he goes, sweetheart, like, what is going on? Why are you freaking out? Like, what is the deal? And she goes, Dad, I don't have any friends. I don't have anybody to hang out with. This weekend, I finally got invited to something, and now you're taking away, and I don't know how to handle it. I'm losing my mind. I don't have anybody, Dad. Like, what are you doing? Why are you like this? And he was like, oh, this is bigger than just that small little deal that took place, right? That's the picture. It's so easy to do. We can miss the person, we can miss the moment, we can not be present, and we're just all about the rules and the regulations and the systems and the traditions and the things that we've built around us that feel nice and comfortable, and we're satisfied, right? All the while, if you're chasing rules and missing people, you're missing the point. So let's jump into Matthew chapter 12. Let's walk through this moment together. There's a lot in this passage, and so let's jump in. Matthew 12, verse 1. At that time, Jesus passed through the grain fields on the Sabbath. It's key. It's a good context clue for us. His disciples were hungry and began to pick and eat some heads of grain. I'm just going to stop there. This feels kind of funny. It feels like they're just walking through somebody's grain field and they're just taking food, so they're literally stealing. That's not the case. It's not the same as if I was going through Tuscaloosa and I went behind somebody's house and jumped in their mini fridge and just started eating and snacking and got a couple of drinks, right? That's not what's going on here, okay? As a matter of fact, there was a lenience that if you're going through a grain field and you pick up a grain, as long as you don't store it or keep a lot or start gathering, it's okay, you're in the clear. So they're not actually stealing at this moment, but it feels like that. I mean, it felt like the first time I remember I was going to Publix with my kids. All of a sudden, one of my daughters just picked up a banana and started eating it. And I was like, what are you doing? I was like, we're not buying bananas. Why are you eating a banana right now? She goes, it's fine, Dad. Everybody does it. And I was like, no, everybody doesn't do that. And then all of a sudden, my other daughter, who's a little, older, she's like, hey, it's okay for your kid to eat a banana, just one. It's kind of like getting a free cookie, Dad. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, right? Am I right? So, okay, I was just making sure. I was waiting for somebody to be like, actually, they changed that rule, bro. You need to get it right. But it was that moment where I was like, this is kind of like that. The disciples are eating. Jesus is with them. They're not breaking any God's rules, right? But then what happens, verse 2, when the Pharisees saw this, the religious elite, those with great clout, a lot of gravitas, when they speak, God's speaking, those guys, right? They said to him, see, your disciples are doing what is not lawful to do on the Sabbath. What are they referring to? They're referring to the 39 regulations that the Pharisees and the Mishnah and all these other traditions built into when you go into a field and you do certain things, you can't do those on the Sabbath because you're not supposed to be working. So what they did is they saw this idea that's in the Bible, hey, don't work on the Sabbath, rest, take a rest from whatever it is that you're doing, and they extrapolated out of that 39 regulations. And so they're like, you're breaking them, bro. What are your disciples doing? And in case you're like, okay, so why is this in the Bible? Who cares? So they broke and they ate some food. Here's the deal. Back then, you break a law on the Sabbath, you don't rest, but you work, death penalty. Death penalty by stoning. Now, there's some ways out of it. There's some legalities. You can have a sin offering to cover your sin in that moment. But it's a big deal. It's significant. So he's coming at Jesus with a really big claim. Hey, you guys should die. Right? That's basically what he's saying. You've broken the Sabbath, but what has he done? He's showing extra laws, not the intent of the law. Jesus is about to reframe and redefine the Sabbath for these Pharisees. That's where we're headed. And listen, Christians do this. They do. Maybe some of these examples that I'm about to say you don't do and you don't think, maybe you have your own. But we all do them on some level. I'll give you one. Parents who have high school students, maybe middle school students, whatever you want to frame it, you can't date. You're in my home, we're Christians, you can't date, right? We're done. Now, is that anywhere in the Bible? Can you get there if you extrapolate? You pull some things out and you go, okay, dating's for marriage. Okay, you're not able to get married. Okay, so therefore you can't date. I get how you get there, but it's not in there. It's a tradition. It's a law. It's your own household rule, right? But it's not in the Bible, right? Your quiet time has to be in the morning, right? Listen, I've been in the small group where they've said it to me, hey, bro, if you really want to follow Jesus, you need to get up early in the morning, which I do anyways, but you need to get up early in the morning and spend time in the Bible. If you don't, you're kind of a less than Christian, right? That extra rule. Is that anywhere in the scriptures? No. Yeah, Jesus got up to spend time in prayer early in the morning. Does that mean that if we don't spend our time in the Bible and in prayer every morning, that all of a sudden now we're not following God? No. You can get there, but it's not an actual law. I'm going to give you a couple others. Husbands have to be the breadwinner. I don't know how that makes you feel, right? I don't know what your tradition is. Sometimes that makes people uncomfortable. It's not in the scriptures, right? Jesus never laughed, so why would you? There can't be drums. Some churches go down that road, right? Like, you have to be serious all the time as a Christian. Why? Because the Bible's pretty serious. It's hard to pull out jokes and laughs. I mean, it's in there, but it's hard to just pull out here and there. And so you have to be serious about your faith all the time. You can't have fun. You can't play games. You can't go watch movies. You can't do. And the list just starts to get really big, right? It's easy to get there. It's easy to do this. So let's keep going. He's going to give another example, or he's going to give some refutes to what the Pharisees are saying. What does he say? Verse 3. He said to them, haven't you read what David did when he and those who were with him were hungry? How he entered the house of God and they ate the bread of presence, which is not lawful for him or for those with him to eat, but only for the priests. What is he referring to? 1 Samuel chapter 21, verses 1 through 6. I'm going to say it again, so if you want to write it down. 1 Samuel chapter 21, verses 1 through 6. We're not going to read all of it. We're just going to talk about it, okay? So David and his men are out, and they're hungry. They need food, and the priest is like, hey, all we have is unleavened bread, and actually the bread of the presence of God. And so, like, you're not supposed to eat that. Only priests are supposed to eat that. But what does he do? He gives them bread. So they broke the norm. They broke tradition in that sense. And so you're sitting there listening to Jesus say these words. He says, which is not lawful for him or for those who eat with him, but only for the priest. Is this like situational ethics? Is Jesus just saying, hey, do whatever you want whenever you want? No, he has a point, and he's heading in a direction. So what is he saying? Jesus is reminding them that when David and his men were hungry, God allowed them to eat what was technically off limits. So we got that. Why? You're going to see in a moment. It's because mercy always trumps protocol. And now, something greater than David is here. Who are they eating with? They were eating with Jesus. So he's referring to David, who's a king. They're out, they need food. The priest gives an allowance for the king, the men that are with him, and he's saying, don't you know who I'm eating, who they're eating with? Jesus. Who instituted the Sabbath? Yahweh did. Who was there? Jesus. Do you realize what you're saying? Do you realize who you're dealing with? You've made all these rules, all these regulations. You've been building your system for years. People are listening to you. And I'm telling you, I'm the guy. If you're going to listen to anybody, listen to me. That's essentially what Jesus is saying. He's reframing for them what actual reality is, what's actually important, what the matter of the heart really is, what you should chase. Let's keep going, verse 5. Or haven't you read, he's going to give another example, just to really drive it forward. Or haven't you read in the law, Numbers and Leviticus, on Sabbath days, the priest in the temple violate the Sabbath and are innocent? I tell you that something greater than the temple is here. What is Jesus talking about? You see, back then, there was the Sabbath, the day that you rest, and there was the temple where God dwells. The thought process to Jews in the Jewish mind, they would think this way. They would think, okay, priests work on the Sabbath in the presence of God. So what does that mean? It means the temple supersedes the Sabbath, which is why they are able to work in the temple, because they're doing God's work in his presence. Okay? Tracking? Are you following? So what is Jesus saying? He's saying, I'm telling you, something greater than the temple is here. You think the Sabbath is a big deal? You think the temple's even greater? I'm telling you, I'm even more important than the temple, than the place that you believe God dwells. I am God. I'm the guy. So if you want to talk about rules and regulations, you should be talking to me. That's what he's saying. He's saying, man, don't you know that the priests were given allowances? I've given allowances to these guys. They're with the king. They're with the Messiah. You're so caught up in all your rules and your regulations that you've missed the people. You've missed the heart of why I've come and who I am and what I'm doing. That's what he's talking about. He's saying something better than David is here. It's me. Verse 7. If you had known what this means, now he's going to explain. I desire mercy and not sacrifice. You would not have condemned the innocent. For the Son of Man is the Lord of the Sabbath. See that? The Pharisees are nitpicking and they're completely missing the point. That's what Jesus is saying. They've missed it. David Platt says it this way. He points out three massive things that the Pharisees missed. Here's the first one. They missed the purpose of the law. The law was meant to lead people to love God and others, but they used it to burden and control people. Remember we talked about last week, come to me all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. The Pharisees, the backdrop of that passage, I'm just want to remind you, they are putting all these rules on the people, and they are overwhelmed. They feel like they don't know which way is up. And Jesus said, hey, don't listen to them. Come to me and find rest. You don't have to carry your burdens anymore. You don't have to carry the weight anymore. I carried it for you on the cross. Come to me. And so what do? They miss the purpose of the law through burden and control. They miss the priority of mercy. They elevated sacrifice, the Pharisees did, and ceremony over compassion and healing. Jesus quotes Hosea 6:6 again, right? To correct this, I desire mercy, not sacrifice. The third thing they miss, this is a big one. They missed the identity of Jesus. They didn't recognize that someone greater than the temple, greater than the Sabbath, the Lord of the Sabbath, was standing right in front of them. They're like, hey guys, it's over here. It's not all this nonsense. It's not all this crazy talk. It's not all the rules. It's not that you dot every T and everything. I'm here. I've made a way for you. You don't make a way for yourself. You will never be good enough, right enough, smart enough, whatever it is, enough to be in the presence of God and be right. Only I can get you there. That's why I'm coming to die. That's what my mission is, right? And so if we're not careful, listen, we can do the same thing. We can chase rules, appearances, and even our own idea of spiritual success and miss the very heart of God. It's easy to do. And so, all right, we're moving scenes now in the passage. They're going from grain fields, now they're going to the synagogue, the temple, okay? And right out the gates, really interesting language, okay? Look at this, verse 9. Moving on from there, grain fields, to where? He entered their synagogue. It's really interesting language. I may be reading too much into it. I really may. But when I read that, you know what I see? What I hear is I'm coming into a place where there are people who are not walking with me, and it's their place. They've got all these traditions, all these rules, and it's supposed to be a place where the presence of God is, but it's their synagogue, and I'm coming into it. The presence of God is actually showing up now. That's wild. The religious elite, just think about that in our context now. What if it's possible that sometimes we enter into a place of worship and God's saying, hey, I'm showing up at their place because I'm not in it? That's scary. That's the place where you like feel chills go down your body because you've been doing and operating so much so that the presence of God isn't even among you. That's crazy. Again, I might be reading too much, but that's what I'm saying. Verse 10, there he saw a man who had a shriveled hand. So man, really bad deal. Paralysis, messed up, deformed hand, okay? And in order to accuse him, they asked Jesus this, is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? And he replied to them, who among you, if he had a sheep that fell into a pit on the Sabbath, wouldn't take hold of it and lift it out? A person is worth far more than a sheep. So it is lawful to do what is good on the Sabbath. So they come in, and here's what they're doing. They're trying to set Jesus up. Because here's the rule. The rule is you can do good accidentally on the Sabbath. It's okay. If you accidentally help somebody out and you didn't mean to, you get a pass. But in the rules, if you're premeditating, thinking about, and you voice it or somebody sees it or knows you're about to do it because you've been talking about it, man, execution, death. And we've got you on the docket. We heard you were going to do good, and now we've got you. So they were trying to set him up. What does Jesus do? He sees a man with a shriveled hand, right? And he's saying, guys, be reasonable. Are you serious, Pharisees? You even have it in your own law, not in God's law, but even your own law, that if an animal falls into a pit, which is the idea of destruction, the animal's going to die, guess what? You can go and get that animal out of the pit. You even have it in your own system. And now that we come to somebody who's actually hurting, who needs healing on the Sabbath, you're saying that I can go and pull an animal out of a ditch, but I can't help this guy out? Are you crazy? That's what Jesus is saying. Have you lost it? How far are you from the things of God? How much have you built your system and your rules and your regulations and you're checking off the box and having all the appearances of being godly, but you are dead inside? That's why he calls them all kinds of names, right? Who among you would do this? Don't you know a person is worth far more than a sheep? Yes, it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath. He's going back to Matthew chapter 6 when he's like, man, don't worry about anything. The lilies of the field are taken care of. How much more so the person? You are made in the image of God. Genesis, the book of Genesis, right? You're made in my image. Are you serious? I'm not going to take care of you, but I'm going to take care of the animal over here? You've lost your mind. That's what I'm reading here. Be reasonable. Well, how does Jesus respond? Then he told the man, stretch out your hand. So he stretched it out, and it was restored as good as the other. Jesus was clever. He made the point that not only is your law foolish, not only are you crazy, but I'm not even going to break your law. I'm just going to tell him to stretch out his hand, which I didn't break any of your laws by doing that. Restoration. He's clever. He made the point that you're wrong anyways, but I'm still going to abide by your rules just for the rules' sake, for you to stick it to you, to say, hey, you're missing it. You're missing it. And so he stretches out his hand. He's restored as good as the other. But the Pharisees, they're so mad. They're so furious because they're holding on to their regulations. They're holding on to their traditions. They're holding on to what makes them feel good and comfortable and right before God. And it is getting demolished in front of them. Jesus is threatening their security as the elite people. And so they're like, man, we got to kill this guy. He didn't break a rule then. We'll get him later. That's the picture. He's going back to mercy again. So here's some practical just thoughts. What does mercy look like? Number one, mercy looks like listening instead of correcting. You ever get into a conversation with somebody, maybe they're a new disciple, maybe it's a partner, maybe it's a friend, I don't know who it is in your world, okay? And they start talking and you're just waiting to tell them what they're doing wrong, or you're just waiting to tell them what they need to do, and you don't actually listen, you're not present, you don't care. That's not mercy, right? Mercy looks like inviting someone back instead of saying, you knew better. I told you so. Yeah, okay, you got it right this time, but man, how many times have you blown it? How many times is it going to take, huh? Like you start Just leaning in, right? Mercy looks like not rushing to judgment, especially with people outside your comfort zone. Mercy doesn't compromise truth. It applies truth gently, patiently, like Jesus. That's the picture. I mean, I think of some uncomfortable situations, okay? I was in a basketball ministry 2 churches ago. It was early on in ministry for me, and it was a really rough area. And we had this basketball court in the area, and we would invite kids from all over. And they could show up, and we would play basketball, share the gospel afterwards. And I can't tell you how rough some of those kids that came in. Most of them, not all of them, most of them came in high. Like, high. And we had a rule, as long as you don't act a fool, you can come. So you can't come in, ruling the show, doing all the things, but a lot of those kids were either drunk, high, or whatever. And so they would show up, they would hear the gospel, they would repent, and their life changed forever. And those kids, man, they came out and they would talk to their parents, I want to leave this life, I want to change, you should change too, Mom, you should change too, Dad. Do you know what was going on in the midst of all of this? People bickering and talking about, man, this isn't the best, like this is a bad idea, this is really uncomfortable. I was like, well, then don't send your kid. You don't have to. But we're going to be reaching people for Jesus. And sometimes that's really uncomfortable. And so, man, we saw people's lives change for eternity. But in the back, they're going, we're not okay with this. We need to shut this ministry down. What would happen if we did that? Those kids would keep doing what they're doing and their parents wouldn't be reached, right? And sometimes that makes us uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable some weeks. I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? It was uncomfortable. Discipleship is messy. It's messy. Jesus is coming in and saying he's in a mess. The religious leader coming for him, there's the death penalty in view, and he's saying, you guys are missing it. And they're ready to kill him. Sometimes when we do discipleship, it's uncomfortable and people don't like it. That's the picture. They're protecting the system but ignoring the person right in front of them, right? And Jesus says, that's not what truly matters. Chase what matters, right? So let me ask you, have you been chasing a spiritual image more than the heart of God? You can sit with that one this week. Have you judged someone or even yourself for not measuring up when you never will and they never will? Only Jesus measures up for you. He's the only way to make you right with God. You can't do it on your own, right? Is there anywhere in your life where truth has come without love? Think about that. So I want to give you some practical action steps just for you to take home, to walk through. Here they are. Number 1, there's 3 of them. Number 1, get honest about your spiritual checklist. What is it? Like, think about that. What's your check off? I'm in the green. Me and Jesus are good. What are those? Where have I turned faith into a set of rules instead of a relationship? Maybe it's your quiet time, how you judge others' growth, or even how you measure your own worth. This week, listen, name one area where you've been chasing appearance over presence. What is that area? Number 2, look for someone you've sidelined and move toward them with mercy. Who's that person? Who's someone you've judged, you've avoided, silent, disqualified, maybe because they didn't live up to your expectations? Mercy starts with presence, right? Send a text. Ask how they're doing. Invite the conversation. Be praying for God to work in their heart. Last one, number 3, trade performance for presence. Trade performance for presence. Block one moment this week where you throw your agenda aside and you just sit with God. Like, okay, God, I'm not coming to you as my genie in the bottle. You're going to fix all of my requests. You're going to answer all the blessings that I need, all the things that I want. I'm going to sit with you. Speak to me. God, move in my life. Read the word, pray, and sit with Jesus. Trade performance over presence. That's the picture. And so, man, as you move forward in this, I just want you to hear it again, okay? If you're chasing rules and missing people, you're missing the point. Jesus wants you, your heart, and he wants you to pursue him with all of it. Let's pray. Father, I pray for everyone in this room. I pray where we are uncomfortable in this conversation. God, where we want to bring the law and you're saying, come with mercy. Where we want to judge, you're saying, come and listen. Where we want to cast out, you're saying, invite. God, you call us to love our enemies, to be present with those who are far from you, God. I pray for opportunities this week. I pray right now that people in this room would seek out relationships with people who are far from God. Discipleship is messy. Evangelism is messy. God, I pray that we would get in the mess. That we would stop centering our lives around our systems, the things that make us comfortable, that we would get uncomfortable and walk hard with Jesus. God, help us. Give us the grace and the mercy needed. We pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.